2021 West Africa Agribusiness Show Colloquium. And I want to thank God for the grace that He has given unto every one of us to be part of this year's show. We started this show last year. It was quite interesting, live, and for it, and with a lot of benefits. It was a radical development as stakeholders, connect, share ideas, to see and experience the latest in equipment and technical know-how, as well as supplies and services deployed. And we had so much to this year. When we had the first edition and all that, but things went the way they did. But we are privileged to see their life, to witness this one, whether it's online or it's the other way around. We thank God that we're still part of it, and to God be the glory. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting very, very shortly. And I'd like to give kudos to the project manager, the project lead, Okwela Dipo. I'd like to thank Mr. Itowu Ashenoga for everything that they've been doing, and the rest of the team members for all they have been doing to ensure that we have a seamless show this year. We're going to have a short break very shortly, and then when we come back, a keynote address will be delivered by the project lead, Okwela Dipo, who is going to declare the colloquium officially open, and then we can go to the morning edition, which is titled Accelerating Food Revolution in Africa. Thank you very much. You're welcome, everyone. My name is Modupe Olubanjo. I hope we're going to have the opportunity to introduce ourselves. Okay, should we do that? Hello?
Ma, please, when you say introduce yourselves, please, who are you referring to? The participants or the panelists?
Yeah, participants, yes.
There are quite many, so we may not be able to.
Oh, okay, we may not have that kind of time.
Yes,
okay,
please.
then, all right. Maybe in the course of the program, maybe when people are going to talk, of course, they'll mention their names. So you're welcome, everyone. I wish us a very beautiful show. Thank you. Short break. Hello? Okay. Hello?
We're with you, ma. We're with you.
Okay. While waiting for the WAS video to be inserted, I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors. There are quite many. I'd like to thank everyone that will. I'd like to welcome us back. Like I was saying, I'd like to acknowledge all our sponsors. I may not be able to mention them extempore, but all those who have sponsored us, who have given us the support for this year's show, I'd like to say thank you, everyone. May your businesses in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. You're welcome one more time. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Okwe Ladipo. She's the project lead for the West African Agribusiness Show. She had a very good outing last year, and this morning too, I'd like to invite her for the keynote address and declaration of the show open. Okwe Ladipo.
Thank you, Mrs. Olubanjo. Once again, I'd like to welcome every one of you to this year's colloquium. It's nice to have you join us once again. We appreciate your support and your cooperation. By 2050, the world's population will reach 9.1 billion, 34% higher than today. And nearly all of this population increase will occur in developing countries. Urbanization will continue at an accelerated pace, and about 70% of the world's population will be urban. Income levels will be many multiples of what they are now. In order to feed this larger, more urban and richer population, food production must increase. Now, the sharp increase in food prices that occurred in global and national markets in recent years, and the resulting increase in the number of hungry and malnourished people have sharpened the awareness of policymakers and the general public to the fragility of the global food system. Now, this awareness must be translated into political will and effective action to render the system better prepared to respond to long-term demand growth and more resilience against various risk factors that confront world agriculture, and to ensure that the growing world population will be able to produce and have access to adequate food today and in the future. Hence, there is a need to address new challenges that transcend the traditional decision-making horizons of producers, consumers, and policymakers. Looking at the current global occurrence in the agribusiness sector, agricultural development is one of the most powerful tools to end extreme poverty, boost shared prosperity, and feed a projected 9.7 billion people by 2050. Growth in the agriculture sector is 2 to 4 times more effective in raising incomes amongst the poorest compared to other sectors. But agriculture-driven growth, poverty reduction, and food security are at risk. Climate change could cut crop yields, especially in the world's most food insecure regions. Agriculture, forestry, and land use charge are responsible for about 25% of greenhouse gas emissions. Mitigations in the agriculture sector is part of the solution to climate change. The current food system also threatens the health of people and the planet. Agriculture accounts for 70% of water use and generates unsustainable levels of pollution and waste. 1/3 of food produced globally is either lost or wasted. Addressing food loss and waste is critical to improving food and nutrition security, as well as helping to meet climate goals and reduce stress on the environment. Risks associated with poor diets are also the leading cause of deaths worldwide. Millions of people are either not eating enough or eating the wrong types of food, resulting in a double burden of malnutrition that can lead to illnesses and health crises. The development community today shares the same broad recipe for poverty reduction. The recipe involves fostering pro-poor economic growth and favoring poor people's access to all the services and other factors that support poverty eradication and define an acceptable standard of living. Markets, credits, and income-producing assets, basic education, health and sanitation services, safe water, transport and communications infrastructure, and so on. Providing access to these basic human rights is seen as an end in itself, but it will also boost economic growth. The future of agribusiness. The future growth of food demand will be the combined effort of slowing population growth, continuing strong income growth and urbanization in many of the developing countries, and associated shifts in diet structures, especially in the most populous ones, and gradual food saturation in many developing countries. As is already the case in developed countries, globally, the growth rate of demand will clearly be lower than during preceding decades. Nevertheless, the projected total demand increase is still significant in absolute terms with only small differences. Action is needed now to ensure that the required increase in food production is achieved and that every human being has access to adequate food. First, investment in developing country agriculture has to increase over current levels through a combination of higher public investment and better incentives for farmers and the private sector to invest their own resources. Second, greater priority has to be given to agricultural research, development and extension services in order to achieve the yield and productivity gains that are needed to fill the world in 2050. Third, global markets have to function effectively as food security for an increasing number of countries will depend on international trade and access to a stable supply of imports. Trends and how we can work together to harness potential in the agribusiness sector. One of the most prominent challenges facing Africa is providing food security for its citizens. While many farmers still rely on the traditional crops living from the land, there are opportunities to use cutting-edge technology to drive Africa towards a food secure future. There has been reference in the recent past of artificial intelligence replacing people in jobs, but what happens when AI devices and machines enables people to spend less time on manual labor and more time boosting productivity? Across the continent, technology has the potential to change the face of farming, using smart tools and platforms for precision farming, predicting weather patterns and maximizing the use of scarce water resources. By harnessing agri-tech, Africa can solve the pressing issues around food security to meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 2 of zero hunger and enhance economic development in the process. West Africa Agribusiness shows commitment to accelerating food revolution in Africa. Growth in the agricultural sector has a crucial role to play in reducing poverty. The International Fund for Agricultural Development estimates that 7 out of 10 of the world's poor still live in rural areas. They include smallholders, landless laborers, traditional pastoralists, artisanal fishers, and marginalized groups, such as refugees, indigenous people, and female-headed households. The West Africa Agribusiness Show is committed to rapid development in the agribusiness sector by providing a practical platform for the convergence of cutting-edge ideas, innovations, solutions, systems, standards, and know-hows in the agribusiness sector, which are essential for the revolution of food production in Africa. On this note, I welcome you all to the West Africa Agribusiness Show Colloquium 2021. On behalf of the convener of the West Africa Agribusiness Show, I hereby declare the Colloquium year 2021 open. Thank you and God bless.
Please, you are muted. Moderator, you are muted.
Yes, she will be back on. Thank you, sir.
Hello, am I on? Hello? Hello?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, please. Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much, Ope, for that robust, very well scripted and well delivered keynote address. Thank you very much. Last year we had such robust discussions, in the panel sessions that I do not expect anything less than that this year. And as a result of this, I'd like to welcome us to the first plenary session, which is going to be moderated by none less than the chairman, Institute of Agribusiness Management Nigeria, which is based in Lagos State, Mr. Sheyi Ifelaja. Mr. Sheyi Ifelaja, you're welcome. Thank you very much for being here. And members of that plenary session are going to be 3. The first is Mr. Foster Boateng. Mr. Boateng is the regional manager, the regional head, Agra West Africa. And it covers 6 countries in West Africa, including Ghana, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Mali, Togo, and Cote d'Ivoire. He has a background in agricultural engineering and economic policy with expertise in rural economy. Before joining AGRA in 2014, he consulted for 3 African Development Bank, Government of Ghana jointly funded programs in the area of rural and urban socio-economic infrastructure development. He has also consulted for the village infrastructure project for the World Bank funded rural development project, which identifies and promotes sustainable intermediate means of transport. Mr. Boateng, you're welcome. Next is Mr. Kola Masha. Mr. Kola Masha is the managing director of Babangona. Babangona is an award-winning, high-impact, financially sustainable and highly scalable social enterprise, which is part-owned by the farmers that are served. Babangona was created to specifically attract youths to agric and away from the looming instability of extremist groups. He has an MBA honors at the Harvard and an MC engineering degree from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, both in America. He's an accomplished farmer consultant. He has managed many maize and rice farmer cooperatives across northern Nigeria, and he is not resting yet. Mr. Kola Masha, you are welcome to our midst this morning. We intend to benefit from your wealth of experience. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not the least is Mr. Aminu Akajiri. Mr. Aminu Akajiri is the Chief Executive Officer, Federation of West Africa Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and Economic Committee of West African States. Is resident in Abuja, Nigeria, and in his capacity, he is going to enhance the participation of West African private sector into the regional economic integration process by organizing, sensitizing, and training sessions on ECOWAS protocol and policies in national chambers of commerce. Mr. Kajiri is member of the technical committee in charge of organizing the ECOWAS Business Forum, ECOWAS Investment Forum, and implementation of their recommendations. Mr. Kadri, you are welcome. The 3 of you are going to be moderated, like I said earlier, by Mr. Sheyi Ifelaja. And this session is going to take about 1 hour, 30 minutes now. I think about 1 hour, 30 minutes, and we'll come back. So, Mr. Sheyi Ifelaja, you're welcome, sir. Over to you. And the topic is accelerating food revolution in Africa. Mr. Sheyi Ifelaja, over to you, sir.
have with me some of our distributors from the Republic of Benin. Can we meet you, please?
I'm Samuel Obona. I'm a businessman, Tutors Group of Company. We are from Benin Republic. We are here to see the product of PSC Nigerian Limited here in Ikeja, to know how the business, the product will move forward in Benin Republic. And we are here with the Director General, Dr. Patrick Owele.
Now that you've come to Lagos, Nigeria to see our products for yourselves, what is your advice for the Republic of Benin as regards to our solar products?
There is no way of not convincing our customers to come and buy PSC Solar products. Nous invitons toute la population du Bénin à adopter les produits PSC Solar.
Okay. Okay. Hello, are we getting ready?
Yeah. Good morning.
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 Is that Mr. Ifelaja?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ifelaja.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just got to know that Mr. Aminu is going to be represented today. Mr. Aminu Akadiri is going to be represented by Mr. Dear Kolope Adeojo. And so the plenary session is going to start very shortly. I'd like to welcome one more time Mr. Kola Masha, Mr. Foster Boateng, and Mr. Aminu Akadiri, ably represented by Mr. Dear Kolope Adeojo. Mr. Ifaja, over to you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Ope. Mr. Foster Boateng, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Nice seeing you again here today. The last time we saw was at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and Sahel session that we had for the Committee of Practice.
That's true.
Pleasure having you on board. Mr. Kolamasha, good morning, sir. Is Mr. Kolamasha here? Okay, if Mr. Kolamasha can hear me, I'd like for him to respond. Mr. Adia Kolokbe Adeojo, are
Good morning,
you?
sir. Yes, I am. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Pleasure to have you here too.
Pleasure is mine.
Looking forward to a lovely session with you all on board. So without further delay, Okwe, please, can we double check on Mr. Kolamasha to have him join us, please?
I'm doing that at the moment, sir. I'm doing that right away.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll just, should we wait for him a little bit?
Yes, we can. And we have a video on food revolution that can quickly play whilst we wait.
Please, let's cue that then.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, Mr. Ifelaja, please, we are ahead of time by about 20-25 minutes. So we're still waiting for Mr. Kolamasha to join the webinar. So kindly, just step up, just continue. He will join us very presently. Thank you, sir. We're going to play a video, the food resolution video. Okay, is it ready now? Can we have it now?
No, please, it's not ready.
Okay, so
Thank
Mr. Ifeanyi, I should just go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right, we would like to welcome everyone. I can see participants are already, logged on, and we like to appreciate your time. We'd like to appreciate you for, showing up. Without a doubt, this is a journey that will provide you, it's a pleasant ride. It will bring solutions to your mind in this space of agribusiness. A little history about WAS, West African Agribusiness Show. The maiden edition was last year at about this time before COVID started in February 2020. And it was at the prestigious landmark event center at Victoria Island, Lekki axis of Lagos, and it was well attended. We had the high and the mighty in the agric space that were present to grace the occasion, from private sector to public sector to domestic organizations, foreign organizations. They were all available on ground, and it was a very, very informative, fulfilling, and engaging series of sessions that we had last year. And we will not allow for COVID to stop us. The train has started, the crusade has begun. It is to revolutionize the food and agriculture and agribusiness environment in the whole of Africa. This year's edition, yes, online, is not ruling out the fact that we'll still have some other programs and some other conferences coming up before the year 2021 goes out, for your pleasure and for your advantage, as it were. So this year we are looking to talk about and inform and encourage and inspire ourselves into accelerating food revolution in Africa. Now, the aim of any food revolution drive, as we've seen in the West and in Asia and all over the world, where we have countries and continents that have revolutionized when it comes to food and agriculture. The aim basically is to birth advancement that will bring about, the urgent and sustainable development of varieties in the food and agri sectors, whether crops or livestock. Those varieties that will be developed, will provide engagement of jobs. They'll provide improved yields for every, effort to provide, the use of best practices in our field of endeavor, and to provide safer, in a more sustainable way, food and inputs. And those are tailored almost always to tackle larger society problem, whether social or economic problems of insecurity like we have in Nigeria, problems of youth unemployment, problems of malnutrition and undernutrition, and so on and so forth. So this year, we are here to talk about accelerating food revolution in Africa. Nigeria is an integral part of Africa. We, in quote, have bragging rights in a sense, to want to look at us as a case study. Now, there are issues, there are economic issues, there are insecurity issues. There are problems, diverse problems, youth unemployment, they are there. In the face of accelerating food revolution in Africa, we're going to be listening to our panels of discussants. These are subject matter experts in the space of food and agriculture in Africa. And each one of them, they're going to be shedding light on the things that they have been doing, the things that they've been into, solutions to this problem, that if in your space, in my space, we are able to, borrow leaf from the concepts and the relationships that they've been able to, bring to the fore to provide solutions, we will do well in a correlated manner. It will not just be victory in one sport, victory at that sport, but it can be correlated. Prosperity can be correlated. So we're going to be discussing with them. We'll hear them talk, we'll hear them share experiences and results on the things that they've been doing, and we will be able to borrow leaf from all of that to accelerate food revolution in Africa, which is the theme of this conference this year. Now, every participant, you have the chance to ask a question, post your questions. As the presentations are going on, we're going to have time to take it. The panelists would have time, to, to answer to those questions. So excuse me, I don't know if the panelists have been introduced before I got on.
Yes, they have. Yes, please.
All right. So I am Sheyi Felaja. I am an agribusiness management consultant. I will be moderating this session today. I'm sure I probably have been introduced to. So let us move on to begin to hear from the panelists themselves. One-on-one, we're going to begin with Mr. Foster Boateng from Agra. Mr. Foster.
Hello.
It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Seneji. I don't know whether I've pronounced your name correctly, but
Sheyi.
Sheyi, yeah, Mr.
Yes.
Sheyi. Great, and thank you, Ope, for inviting me to this webinar. It's a privilege for me to be here to share what we do. First of all, let me backtrack to give a background to who AGRA is for the benefit of your audience. AGRA is an African institution, farmer-centered, partnership-led, with the idea of helping farmers improve on their agricultural operations, moving them from subsistence agriculture to business that thrives. So that's basically what AGRA is all about. And we have been in the space for over a decade now, working in Africa, working with government, supporting private sector, and then also working with farmer organizations to achieve this broader objective. First of all, I think the topic on the table today is about accelerating food revolution in Africa. For me, you all will bear with me that in all societies, food is essential. Even when you want to look at our food system evolution, even from prehistoric time, over 200 years ago, you realize that human beings or human species were just looking for food through gathering, hunting, and scavenging. But then this had transitioned over the period. I mean, if you look at about 9,000 BC, you realize that if you take highlands of Ethiopia, they have been able to domesticate the teff plant. So we transition from the hunter-gathering lifestyle to agriculture for food through farming. And so this has been the transition. But I must say that the situation has changed over time and profoundly. Food supply has changed profoundly due to high population growth and increased trade. Now, if I take you back also with COVID has taught us a lot of lessons. And COVID has brought in a host of important warnings and lessons. One of these is the extent to which the fragility of our global food supply chain. And then we have also seen the dangerous weakness we have been exposed to in terms of how we produce food, how we transport, and how we trade and sold. We also are being confronted with population growth. Existing statistics tells us that by 2050, Africa will be hosting a quarter of the world population. So the challenge is, how are we going to feed these people? By 2050, our population will double, getting to about 2.5 billion. So how are we going to feed these people? Amidst the challenges that is facing Africa, where we are importing food, our food import bill currently is about 35 billion. This is expected to rise to about 110 billion by 2050. So it means we need to do something. And for us to feed and employ the fast-growing unemployed youth in Africa, we need a new approach to agricultural development in Africa. And for the new approach, from AGRA's perspective, we feel that this new approach must look at, one, how do we modernize agriculture through science and technology? And in this case, I mean, we need to improve land and labor productivity. So what kind of technology are we putting at the disposal of smallholder farmers so that they'll be able to improve their productivity? We know that 80% of staple food that we grow in Africa are in the hands of smallholder farmers. And they are very uncompetitive, inefficient, because they produce little, because they don't have access to improved technology to modernize their operations. So for AGRA, our work has been, how do you really get smallholder farmers to use improved seeds, fertilizer, and extension services that will improve their operations to increase their productivity and also production to make them more competitive. The second point that we also need to look, very, very important, is SMEs. We need to unlock the potential of African SMEs to drive the agri-food system transformation that will benefit millions of smallholder farmers and also rural and urban households. For me, SMEs, we know, has been driving a silent revolution across our continent. They have been supporting smallholder farmers from input up to market. And so this is a resource that African governments and institutions need to tap into. These SMEs have a range of models that are working. I'll cite a few examples. I think Babangona is on the call. He can speak for himself. AGRA has been working with models that has been developed by EFEX, where they are linking smallholder farmers in Kaduna and Niger states to inputs and also to market. In Ghana, we have a model we call the Yedent. Yedent also have a group of farmers, aggregators, and then linking the farmers to market. It's a way of developing the downstream supply chain and also developing the downstream delivery of technologies to smallholder farmers. Another level that we can also do as a new approach, in my estimation, is the use of digital technology. We need to increase investments in digitization of activities along the food value chain. And for me, the digital evolution of Africa cannot take place without more and better data. So I think we need to invest in data to be able to take a full advantage of the digital revolution that we are seeing around the world. And finally, but not the least, I want to touch on, how do we improve regional food trade? How do we strengthen the implementation of efficient and mainstream and harmonized measures for regional food trade facilitation? We need to do that. And then also, I'll conclude on the fact that we need to improve on physical infrastructure, roads, energy, transport, and communication. Let me just end here, and probably I'll come back after my other panelists have spoken. If there are more things to be added, I will do so. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Boateng. I'm giving you a round of applause in my heart right now. So grateful for that time that we've had with you for starters. Please note your questions for Mr. Boateng. You've been informed on how to channel that. Now, let us hear from Mr. Diekolokwe. Mr. Diekolokwe Adeojo, are you with us? Can you unmute?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Thank you.
My name is Diekolokwe Adeojo. I'm here in my capacity to represent Mr. Aminu Akadiri, the CEO of Federation of West African Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The Federation of West African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it's under the private sector directorate of ECOWAS, and we work closely with ECOWAS to develop various programs and initiatives to develop the private sector in different sectors. One of the sectors which is very important is the agricultural sector. And we work closely with ECOWAS to develop the regional agricultural policy, which assess the problems of agriculture in West Africa. We found out that it's no news that agriculture is the main employer of labor in West Africa. But there are so many deficits, there are so many issues, like the previous panelist mentioned, there are issues of lack of infrastructure, lack of access to inputs. And so one of the other programs we have worked on is the rice offensive policy. The rice offensive is just in layman term, is that we figured that the demand for rice in West Africa generally is quite high, but we do not have the capacity to meet that. And so ECOWAS is organizing a program that by 2025, West Africa should be self-sufficient enough to provide rice within West Africa. And also, FEWASI works with various agencies, various bodies to make sure that there is to just ensure the ease of doing business in West Africa, to make sure that business is accessible. And one of the things we did during the COVID-19 period was we had a WhatsApp group engagement where we partnered with an agricultural sector group, and then we called people. It wasn't in West Africa alone, called from various sectors, various parts of the world, to find out what they were going through during the COVID-19 period. We found out that because of the lockdowns, people could not, and it was during the peak, it was during the planting season, March and April, people could not, farmers couldn't go out to plant, and then the ones that could go out to plant, and then the ones that had products that they could sell, they couldn't access the market. And we found out that there was a serious issue in West Africa. And then we pictured that over time, like during a period like this, there will be issues with farmers. There will be issues with them getting their products out there. There will be issues with them going out to plants. And we figured that a lot of them also have products that can't reach the market. And so we developed a COVID-19 strategy where we submitted to ECOWAS, whereby one of the solutions we provided was that we should try and find a new planting season, because the planting season has been affected, devise a new means, conduct researches of how we can have a new planting mode for farmers to have their products out there. And we also picked on the public-private partnership. We found out that it was lacking, that there are so many farmers that couldn't access all of the palliatives, because most of the farmers are in the informal sector, and they couldn't have access to the palliatives that the governments were lashing out in different member states. So we serve as a form of advocacy for people that cannot speak for themselves. And then one of the major problems, which the previous panel mentioned, is the problem of regional integration, which is one of the things we work towards. I was in a meeting with the Cote d'Ivoire embassy in Nigeria, and it was during the meeting we were supposed to hold a big conference for like 4 days in Lagos, where we have businessmen from Cote d'Ivoire and businessmen in Nigeria come together, see what the products they have, the farming products they have. And it was alarming during the meeting that I figured that Cote d'Ivoire makes the second best coffee in West Africa. And that coffee is not being sold in Nigeria. And so there's a big problem that is what AFCFT is trying to solve. So that's why we encourage the AFCFT, that's why we are engaged in sensitization program of AFCFT to private sector for people to know what it's all about, what we stand to gain from it. So like I said, that's what I have to say. I'll be welcoming more questions in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diakolope. Very lovely perspective into what you guys are doing. Great job. Now, we will be going over to Mr. Kola Masha. You know, in introduction, I don't know, probably before Mr. Kola joined us, we talked about how that the theme, accelerating food revolution in Africa, is aimed at propelling us all and putting us in a position of advantage through the things that we're going to be hearing from our panelists, to come up with advancements, with models, as in solutions, whether in the crops or the livestock sector, that will provide, engagements through job creation, or all the positives that we have in the agri sector. It creates job, it improves yields. As in, we wanted all of that to tackle economic and social problems in the face of, those problems are, in Nigeria right now, we have those issues, the insecurities. What you do, Mr. Kolamasha, is I am not a novice to what you do, but would like for you to share, with us, Babagona, the things that you do in the face of food revolution. How is it, putting us in a good stead to come out stronger, considering all the challenges that we are facing? Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, Shay. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thank
Good.
you.
Well, greatly appreciate the kind introduction. So basically, at Balangona, we started down this journey over a decade ago, and have been focused very much on solving what we believe is really the most serious challenge facing not just Nigeria, but the entire region, which is spiraling insecurity, driven by dramatic growth in youth unemployment. And fundamentally, if you look at from 1990 to 2010, we had roughly about 20 million youth enter an already oversaturated workforce, triggering not one, not two, but three insurgencies. And the reality is, if you look at from 2010 to 2030, 4 times that number of youth, 80 million people, the population of Germany, the world's 4th largest economy, will be entering an already oversaturated workforce. So we started on this journey with a goal to help create 10 million jobs by 2030 by unlocking the power of agriculture as a job creation engine. And we've been very fortunate with just a tremendous group of partners, including Agra, who was one of our very early partners way back in our early days. We've been able to scale the impact of our work quite dramatically. Today, we've supported cumulatively about 110,000 farmers to date. In 2020, we farmed an area over 80,000 acres, equivalent of 5 Manhattans, or an area larger than the city of Abuja. Which makes us the single largest maize producing entity in West Africa. Our model is focused on really supporting smallholder farmers to overcome the underlying structural problem that inhibits their productivity and profitability, which is low economies of scale. We bring economies of scale by providing farmers, by launching a model we call an agricultural franchise, where we franchise a network of grassroots level farmer cooperatives and support them with a full suite of services, everything from training to, most importantly, financing, full suite of inputs, and storage and marketing services. So by supporting farmers with really this holistic end-to-end package, we're able to enable the average farmer to achieve net incomes that are approximately 2 times national average, over 2 times national average. We are able to de-risk the farmers to the degree that now we're entering our 10th year. We've provided tens of millions of dollars in financing to farmers and operating at over a 99% repayment rates. So we've demonstrated that not only as smallholder farmers can we dramatically improve their productivity, but we can create a model that is financially sustainable and be able to scale through debt financing. So can you guys hear me okay? I think I see that there's some challenges with my audio.
Okay, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, you're loud and clear. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I.
Great, great. Excellent. So,
Yeah, it's
great. Wonderful. Well, Shay, would you want me to start again, or was that okay, what you heard?
Oh, it was okay. The sound is better now. But I think everybody heard you, but it's a lot better now. So if you want to start again, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay, great. Well, I'll just touch on the fact that really at the end of the day, Babangona, we're very focused on solving what we believe, hands down, is the region's #1 challenge, which is rising insecurity, driven by a dramatic growth in youth unemployment. And what we do at Babangona is we unlock the power of agriculture as a job creation engine by scaling a model we call an agricultural franchise that dramatically improves the profitability of smallholder farmers. We're now in our 10th year, consistently able to enable smallholder farmers to attain net incomes that are more than double the national average. And we've been able to, with the support of our many partners, of which Agra was actually one of our very early partners, we've been able to scale dramatically. Today, we are the single largest maize producing entity in West Africa, farming an area over 80,000 acres, equivalent to about 5 Manhattans or larger than the city of Abuja. So I'll pause there, Shay, and hand over back to you.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful illustration. Panelists, everybody wants to and would love to have a go at you now. I'm sure we already have some questions coming up. It's okay. Okay, we can open the floor for panelists to ask questions now and take feedbacks from our panelists, as is for the participants rather.
Okay, sir.
Yes. So we're going to be going through the ones that have been posted, and by show of raise of hand, we'll be attending to our participants. Okay, there is Mr. There is Will Empowerment, Mr. William, I think. Mr. William, you're raising your hand. You have a question, you have a comment, you have a contribution. Okay, while I wait for him, let me take the questions that have been sent. There is a question from Shilmas. Shilmas wants to know what the Nigerian government is assured to do as it concerns their duty to sustainably develop the food and the environmental sector. Seomaz feels that there must be food security policies, and perhaps that's one of the most important aspects that requires the total involvement of government. It is the responsibility of government, and he wants to know, well, we don't have any public sector representative on ground amongst the panelists now to tell us the position, of government regarding our theme discussion, but I am sure that our panelists, can speak as far as the expectations are concerned of government. What do we require for government to do to, meet us in some way, provide the enabling environment for accelerating the food revolution that we are so looking forward to in Africa to happen. The role of government, the responsibilities of government. Gentlemen on the panel, do we start with you, Mr. Foster?
Sure, I can provide some perspective, though I'm not coming from the government sector. But as I said, AGRA has been working with the government, and for us, we believe that for us to transform agriculture inclusively and also accelerate food production or the food revolution in Africa, there are two essential prerequisites. The first one is government prioritizing agriculture as something very important, and government himself allocating resources, should make a conscious effort to plan and allocate resources, and then also to make a conscious effort to account for the resources, and also try to create an enabling environment that would help him leverage on private sector investment, because government alone cannot do it. What I believe government does is it can take it to scale, but private sector will sustain it. So sustainability comes from private sector, scale comes from government. That is why there's a need for government to work in close collaboration with private sector. That is why initially I talk about some heavy liftings that governments have to do for private sector. For instance, when it comes to infrastructure, I don't expect private sector. I think my dear brother Babango now said that Kola Masha, said that they have the largest maize production in West Africa, almost just like the city of Abuja. I don't expect him to use his capital to fix infrastructure like road, electricity, water, communication. This is where governments come in. This is where governments have to do the heavy lifting for private sector to be able to drive this food revolution agenda. So for me, government needs to fix some micro policies that really affect agribusiness. And government must also create incentives for private sector to invest more. There was a case in Ghana. Let me give an example, a classical example in Ghana. I know Ghana and Nigeria are competing cousins. And when Nigeria said they were banning rice imports, quickly Ghana thought they should follow their cousin Nigeria. So the minister said, I'm going to ban import of rice. So we had discussion with the minister and said, no, looking at your size and looking at your big brother Nigeria, you can do that because even your production levels are low. You are just even at 30% self-sufficiency. You import a lot to augment the food requirement needs of your people. So in trying to really ban rice, you are really going to cause price of rice to go up, and food prices will skyrocketing. And very soon, I think your people will start demonstrating against you. What you need to do is, first of all, call all these private sector people around the table, have a dialogue with them, even importers, and say, guys, I have a strategy to improve my rice production in Ghana. In a short term, I want to see we achieve maybe additional 40% self-sufficiency. If you are able to source from Ghana at least 10% from the local farmers, I'm going to give you an incentive. Maybe you can have a tax incentive. Now, when they source 10%, it means that you are freeing 10% of your foreign exchange that you will use it to import rice. So you plow back that money in investment to support your farmers to improve their production levels and the quality of rice they produce. You can do incrementally to get private sector to start sourcing local rice to a point where they themselves will see Ghana rice being very competitive and there will be no incentive for them to import. So these are the kind of dialogues that AGRA always want to have with government and private sector so that we become an intermediary. And governments should also see the private sector as a partner, not an enemy. So, and these are the kind of things that we need to really dialogue and use such platforms to bring these two parties together, because together they will be able to drive the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Well thought through input. I would, the next question you also delved into kind of address, which borders on rice, but I would still love for comment from Mr. Kola at this point before I take the next question that Mr. Dieko would now pounce on, because it has to do with rice, and I know he's doing something with rice. Mr. Kola, government involvement. I know that you, from reports from the news and from researches that I personally have done, there is a intervention of some financing from the National Sovereign Investment Agency. There was a talk about it between it and Babagona some time ago in the recent past. I will want you to, in addressing expectations from government, probably kind of shed a light on that for us to let us know if government through its agencies, its departments or ministries have been helpful in achieving the things that you have been able to achieve. Over to you, sir.
Definitely, I think we've been fortunate to have many partners, which we've had from the federal government as well as different agencies have been key partners as well. But the key one you discussed was the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. So I think at the end of the day, we see the role of government really in two key areas. One is catalyzing in financing to the sector. I think typically what you've seen in the sector is government playing an active role in directly funding these initiatives, which I think is a good first step. I think at the end of the day, I think a better role for government is to figure out how they can support organizations that are creating the impact that they desire by providing capital that actually crowds, that is structured in a way that it crowds in more capital, right? So I think some of the best examples of these you've seen really is providing some forms of guarantees, providing structured in a way, providing, I think one area where we have not seen it as strong is in potentially providing capital in a structure that is maybe subordinated to other capital, so that it actually creates an opportunity where you're de-risking those parties and can actually then crowd in more senior capital. I think to build on Mr. Boateng's point, I think at the end of the day, one of the critical roles is really going to be around infrastructure. And I think there are numerous studies have shown that simple investments in rural road networks have a dramatic impact in improving farmer yields. Because at the end of the day, if you look at by improving the road networks into rural communities, you're effectively reducing the cost of inputs coming into those communities. And also you're helping the farmers improve the price they can get for their grains that are going out of those communities. So you'll have both an impact in reducing farmers' costs of production, as well as increasing the price they get for their commodities, which helps create an incentive system for farmers to want to invest in improved technologies, increase their yields, and sell more products.
Wow, thank you very much, sir. That's some light in that area. Definitely. Now, there's a question from, okay, I can't see your name, but you are talking about, okay, rice is the most cultivated staple food in Nigeria. That is subject to some very, very serious consideration. But the question really is, how does ECOWAS plan to make sure rice is available in West Africa in 2025? What are the laid down plans? Any incentives? Any ways to increase production? What are the plans to stop import? Because foreign rice is still very much in the market all over the place. I would love for Mr. Dieko Lope to start with this question. Help us provide some light as to what is going on, what's the plan about our sufficiency, self-sufficiency in rice production, as it were. Over to you. Is Mr. Dieko, is he here?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for that. All right, I would say that the main aim of the rice offensive policy is to obviously reduce our dependence on rice. ECOWAS over time have achieved the main issue is that there is an increased demand for rice in Africa, but we have an issue with foreign rice coming into the region. And that's one of the reasons that led to Nigeria closing its borders. So ECOWAS has achieved, according to the statistics, achieved 30% of increase, achieved 30% of increase in rice production across the region. Now, I wouldn't say that categorically by 2025, there will be no import of rice, but there will be a reduction. There's already a drastic reduction in the import of rice into the country. Now, what is ECOWAS doing in that line? ECOWAS has empowered farmers across West Africa. There is, I don't know the exact amount, I don't have the exact figure. I'll supply the figure before the end of the meeting. There's an aid that's been given out to farmers who are invested in rice. If once to see that you have the means, you are given the resources to be able to plant, and then they are being backed up. So the main aim here is that they are being backed up by government. So how can we achieve that? You have to have the backing of the government. You have to make sure that the rules of engagement are not so difficult for the farmers. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that they have, with the backing of government of each member state, trying to ban the import of rice and promoting the local ones that we have, it will be easy for Africa, for West Africa generally, for West Africa to be able to supply the rice that it consumes. And the major problem it faces, like I said, is that there is a large demand for rice, like we all know, there's a large demand for it. And right now, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there is an issue of planting as well. So the issue is more of increased engagement between the public and the private sector to work together to conduct research on how to develop the market. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dieko. And there is a comment here that talks about.
Can I make a quick follow-up on the point that Mr. Dieko made?
Carry on, sir.
Thank you so much. I think the issue also, we need to highlight the innovations that ECOWAS has brought to the fore in the rice offensive. First one I will say is ECOWAS have worked with CAD to develop the various countries' national agricultural rice development strategies. So across the ECOWAS countries, most of these countries now have what we call the National Rice Development Strategy, NRDS. And this is guiding countries in their investments in the rice sector. I know recently they've also set up what we call the Rice Observatory. The Rice Observatory brings in other partners in a way to help the West African countries in the way of better coordinate the sector and looking at the other policy implications across the region when it comes to trade, when it comes to standards and all those things. And also, I know there's also a component that trying to look at developing a financing arrangement for value chain actors. And then also working with Coraf and others to look at inputs and then focusing more on research and development. I know AGRA is part of this observatory, and I know CARI is part of this observatory, and Islamic Development Bank as well, and a few other partners. Gate Foundation is supporting. I know African Development Bank is also much interested in this. So what I know is ECOWAS is really bringing all these resources and partners together to see how best we support countries to achieve their right self-sufficiency. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that add-on. I would like to include Mr. Kola in this particular discourse too by asking the same question for maize. Yes, Babagona is the highest producer of maize right now through their works in West Africa. But we know at this point that maize availability is a serious constraint for a lot of other agro sector, especially in the poultry sector, where they consume a lot of maize in their feed input, is part of their ingredient and all of that. And we've seen a lot of increase and rise in cost of poultry products because of a policy move by the government of Nigeria, in this case now, to ban the release of FX to for maize importation, as it were. So that has created a lot of gap in the supply chain. Is there any plan to increase in the most foreseeable future what you are doing in maize? I know that your work bothers a lot around northern Nigeria. Is there a plan to go beyond the north? You know, we have arable lands in the south, we have in the southeast, in the southwest that can do maize equally well too. Is there any expectation in that regards? Mr. Kola, please.
Sure, thank you. Maybe I'll just take a moment just to explain some of the challenges one has seen recently with maize prices. So the reality is that what you've historically seen with maize price and most commodity prices is that they follow a cycle that is driven by shifts in supply and demand. Typically, what you see is you see a scenario where prices might start going on an uptick. More farmers decide, okay, I want to start farming more and more of this product. So more and more supply comes into the market. As more supply comes into the market, you start seeing a downward trend in prices until a point is reached where supply reduces so much that prices start going up again, and then the cycle starts again. Now, one of the challenges that we've seen in Nigeria, and I think something that causes those cycles to be more volatile, is when you start having large amounts of importation impact that amount of supply that comes into the market, which causes supply to go up so much that prices start becoming very volatile. They drop very quickly, and then it creates this level of lack of predictability that is really not good for anybody in the value chain, both on the producer side as well as the consumer side, such as the poultry industry. So I think the move by the federal government to limit the importation of maize will, over the next few years, enable us to start to see more stability and predictability in prices. I think what you're seeing right now is really a short-term impact because of the fact that, first and foremost, we are already at that point in the supply cycle of the pricing, commodity price
cycle where prices were actually already starting to trend up. If you look at the prices, even last year, when you could still get FX for maize, prices were quite high as well. We were just at that point in the commodity cycle where prices were high. So my point is, I'm not sure that the prices are high exclusively due to the fact that the government has limited FX. But what you will start seeing is, which you're already seeing on the ground, right? Today, a lot of people are looking at maize as a viable opportunity to start investing in. You will start to see coming the harvest of 2021, the harvest of 2022, a significant increase on the supply side, which should start moderating prices domestically.
Thank you very
much. Now, on the question of scaling up, scaling up, I think the reality is, Nigeria has tremendous potential. In addition to rice has tremendous potential as well. As market, based on growth in demand, particularly from the poultry industry, I think on the maize side, you can realistically project that that demand will grow to north of 20 million tons, probably in the next decade or more. If you look at the growth that we've already seen in the maize sector, right? Total demand for maize in Nigeria in the early 2000s was only about 3 million tons. So we've grown 4x over the last couple decades.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Back to the question. This one, okay, for Mr. Boateng, I think, yeah. It says, thank you so much. Please, while the private sector is developing, as you suggest, the government must restrict import of products that can be grown in Nigeria. Likewise, across Africa, should we not have a policy of priority to buy homegrown in Africa first? Mr. Boateng.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think that's an interesting question. Usually when it comes to things around ban on importation, I tread cautiously, and because from where I sit. But let me say that, why do you think people would like to import those things into the country? It's because either we are not competitive in terms of our production levels. We are not competitive. So again, we cannot completely ban, but then how can we also, in a way, invest in such a way that we improve on our capacity to efficiently produce? So it's a chicken and egg problem here. But first of all, I think governments should use their procurement power that they have to encourage local agribusinesses and to buy made in Nigeria, made in Ghana, or made in African goods internally. I will give an example in Ghana. When we advised the minister, what the government did was, it said, from now on, all public funds coming from the ministries, if you want to buy rice, it should be made in Ghana rice. That one, the government has the right to do so. Because even in America, they will tell you, pick American carrier to the nearest point if you are using American money to fly. So we should also do some of these nationalistic or nationalism policies that really improve the capacity of our local companies. So for me, I am for that. But the issue when it comes to why do you have to completely ban? When you do that, as my brother was explaining with the dynamics of conundrum of demand and supply, if you are not producing enough and you are also banning imports, what is going to happen is prices are going to skyrocket and people are going to pay higher prices for that commodity. So in as much as you improve your local capacity to produce, then gradually you tend to reduce imports because it will come automatically. I am sure that people have also developed taste and loyalty for certain foreign goods. But over time, when those things can be produced locally and then it can compete with foreign those foreign goods, I'm sure consumers or households are rational economic agents. They will look at how their budget line plays and they will take those decisions. So for me, I don't think we need to come up with a drastic policy to say we are banning this whilst we are not producing enough for the economy. I will leave it here since I'm not the Minister of Trade.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for that. There is another question here for you, and it's from Mr. Tohib. Mr. Tohib wants to know. He said, in line with building necessary infrastructure to build agriculture, he would like to ask. Says nations are looking forward to keying into fourth industrial revolution. Sorry, I'll take that again. It says nations are looking forward to keying into fourth industrial revolution to unleash agriculture. Okay, these questions are kind of like twisted. Okay, I'll come back to this particular question, but let me take this one from Will again. Will is sharing his thoughts on what it used to be like in the past, where we had the pyramids in the north, granite pyramids, where we have cocoa, coffee, oil palm, and all of that in the south. And he's wondering what we need to do. How do we bring back, those former glory, as it were, as a nation and private sector? What should be, our positioning? How do we achieve this quickly? I'm sure that, those that knows work is already in progress, but I would like for you to also just speak to that, bringing back all of those former glory as it will involve everybody nationally and private sector. Mr. Kola, would you like to help us with that?
Well, I think at the end of the day, the major challenge facing the agriculture sector is low levels of farm productivity, and that really is what causes if you look at the agriculture sector, you think of it as a chain where you have the input side, the production side, and then the processing side. Because you have that low level of productivity in the center there, it means that as a processor, your cost of acquiring your raw material tends to be quite high, because low productivity causes farm gate prices to be quite high. As an input supplier, because you have low levels of productivity, the farmers don't have a strong economic incentive to invest in agricultural inputs, and so it becomes a challenge to operate in that sector. Now, at the end of the day, if you ask yourself, what is the reason why we have that low level of productivity? Well, typically, it's driven by typically about three challenges: training, access to knowledge; credit, access to the financing to buy the quantity and quality of products that the farmers need; and finally, the access to those inputs. Now, I think it varies from location to location, and crop to crop. Which of those three is the biggest challenge? But I think high quality inputs to meet those best practice yields. And
I think we're losing you data.
Individual that has, 'cause I think, you know, the individual that has, 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 you know, the individual that very limited. Shay, can you hear me okay?
It's now getting better. We for like 30 seconds ago, we couldn't hear you. Oh, okay. I think data is fluctuating with Mr. Masha. So he just went off. We will wait for him. Okay. You're welcome here, Scholar.
My apologies. It seems my network is a little bit unstable today.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now?
We can hear you now, sir.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. So I was saying that really at the end of the day, the critical challenge that needs to be solved is getting farmers access to the financing that they need so they can buy the quantity and quality of products that to get high yields. As they buy those products, they're typically you'll find that the suppliers of those products will start to step up and play a more active role in ensuring that the farmers are using those products effectively and providing the right training, and you'll see the levels of productivity start to go up dramatically.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, there's a question here. Are there any partnership plans for startups who are involved in providing agricultural inputs by AGRA? This participant works with Farm Square and Agro e-commerce platform, whatever. Mr. Boateng.
Excuse me, Mr. Moderator, could you please repeat the question?
Okay, he said, are there any partnership plans for startups who are involved in providing agricultural inputs by AGRA? Any partnerships with AGRA?
Thank you so much. I think AGRA, as the name implies, we're an alliance. So we build partnerships and work with a number of partners. What AGRA does actually is how do we build sustainable models that really will thrive. And AGRA does not have money given out to startups, but AGRA builds systems where they can connect such startups to existing businesses, and where we provide a sort of grant to do some kind of heavy lifting for the ongoing businesses to accommodate and get more farmers and build their access to inputs. So that's how our model works. But AGRA is not a donor. AGRA is a technical capacity building institution focused on helping to improve agricultural transformation in Africa. But we use grant as a tool to influence decisions. For a case in point, is a farmer is a bit hesitant in using, let's say, improved seed. How can we put a little money in the form of a grant to do some kind of demonstration farms, support businesses that can demonstrate these technologies to farmers to be able to absorb them? But AGRA in itself does not have money that they give to startups. So that's not how the model works. I don't know whether I've answered this question,
but I hope so. If the question wasn't thoroughly answered, maybe you should recoin it and let us have Mr. Boateng respond to you again. Okay. All right. Okay. At this point, I'm looking to some other questions, but as they roll in, I will bring them up. I would like for us, we are getting towards the last 20 minutes thereabout of the session of the panel. It is still about accelerating food revolution in Africa. Personally, I would like to know how do we, position with the theme in mind where it concerns yield? Kola spoke a lot about yield. One of their own critical success factor is because they've been able to improve yield per hectare. They've been able to do so much. I know a lot of other things go into that, but one thing that I am sure of is the seeds that we use. Now, apart from seeds that we use, there are other contributing factors to yield. And I know that we will only improve the kind of seeds that we have with adequate research work, research and development. Research and development, yeah, it's scantily going on. Because if I am right, I don't think we have any local variety, as it were, that has been upgraded, as in to provide for better yield amongst all of the staples and crops, that we have. Mr. Kola, you are here for maize. Mr. Dieko, you are doing a lot of work on rice. I'm sure you must have been using some improved seed varieties, as it were. What do we need to do locally? What do we need to do in Africa to improve on seed varieties, to improve, technology and all, but most importantly, seed? We are seeing a lot of pressure with maize because the demand on maize goes to, it speaks to the needs of humans and livestock. And there are products that we can use to substitute for maize if it is just for energy. Are there works being done in this regard to, just balance out the playing? Research and development. I would like for each of our panelists to just, touch on that and let us know what we can do. Government level, then private sector. Please, let us start with you, Mr. Kola. Is that okay?
Sure. So on the issue of seed, I think clearly seed is a very important part in driving up yields, and at the end of the day, a farmer, your yield potential is limited by the seed that you have. Now, the key thing, though, is I agree 100% that we do need increased investments in new seeds. I think if you look at the end of the day, if you look at the number of new varieties that are released in markets like West Africa compared to other parts of the world, we are very, very far behind in terms of the number of new varieties that are released every year. However, I think in terms of a key prioritization, at the end of the day, you'll see that the existing seed varieties that are available today, that are high yielding, the truth of the matter is that you still have an availability problem, right? Because the distribution channels for those are limited. The demand for those are limited today because these new technologies are expensive, right? If you're looking at farmers' options, they can save their seed that they used from last year at minimal cost, or they can invest probably, oftentimes improved seeds may cost as much as 5 to 10 times the cost of grain, right? And so they do provide a good return on investment, but the problem is that farmers struggle to be able to have the capital to make that investment, because the truth of the matter is that if I'm going to spend today, if you want to go and get some of the best available seed in Nigeria on the maize side, you're going to spend 20 to 30,000 naira per hectare, right? If I'm going to spend 20 to 30,000 naira per hectare, for me to get a good return on investment for that, I need to have a complementary investment of roughly about 80,000 naira in fertilizers and other chemicals, right? So maybe I've been able to manage to raise the 30,000 naira, 20 to 30,000 naira for the seed, but I haven't been able to raise the investment in the complementary fertilizers and chemicals that are going to enable me to actually get the best out of that seed, it's a non-starter. Right? So I agree with you 100% is important, but making sure that farmers have that ability to purchase, have the purchasing power, which is really comes back to my earlier point on why credit is such an important gap to fill. Because you can have all the best seed in the world, but unless the farmer has the money to buy that seed and the money to buy the complementary fertilizers and chemicals, it's of zero use to them.
Wow, that is light. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Boateng, please, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I think Mr. Kolamashi has said it all. But one I want to add is, for me, farmers don't just buy seed. They want to see the genetic gain that they may get from the seed. And oftentimes, if you see the seed we have available, they will tell you potential yield is about, let's say, 5 tons per hectare. A farmer plants the seed and he doesn't get the 5 tons per hectare. Some of the seeds that they get are also not true to type. So we need to step up our game when it comes to research, because farmers are economic agents. If the figures don't add up, they won't invest. You get my point? They are not stupid. They are smart people. So for me, what kind of seed are we putting at the disposal of the farmers? And then again, when it comes to fertilizers, you go to Africa, every corner, government are doing subsidies, and it's one size fits all. Every soil, they are giving them NPK. For me, this one size fits all fertilizer cannot be a game changer. We need to really begin to diagnose and see what is missing in the soil that we need to complement. Okay? I live in Iowa. I live with a farmer. He has built his topsoil up to my waist, the topsoil alone. And they have farmed on that land when that farmer was 70 years, but when they started farming on that land, his father's farming on that land, he was 14 years. Imagine, and they are getting better yields from the same piece of land. So for me, if we want to really get into agriculture, it's a serious business and we have to do serious investments. And for me, I place this investments, R&D, at the doorsteps of government, because you have to put your money where your mouth is. Now, if you look at most research institutions, they rely on donor funding to do research. So if they don't have it, it means they just recycle what they have. Recently, in a certain country, I won't mention the name, we did some trials trying to look at genetic fingerprints of seeds and seed purity. We sampled from research institutions to private sector who are producing early generation seed, up to entities who are producing certified seed to agro-dealer. When we check the purity level at one of the research institutions were as low as 58%. So even what they are producing, what the farmer has is more pure than even what the research institution has. And why do you expect the farmer to go and buy it? In Ghana, I know farmers, they know the cost of pana, which is very expensive, pana seed, which is a hybrid. Yet farmers want to plant because they see the returns on their investment. Okay? Finally, we are also in the midst of climate change. We need to look at the kind of planting materials we use. Farmers will be planting their own safe seed. Those times, climate change has not hit us. They plant the same thing, they're able to recoup. Now, farmers are planting in the midst of climate change. When they used to get 10 bags, then they are even getting 1 bag. So it means that we need to do serious business, trying to invest in the quality of inputs that these farmers are using. And for me, you cannot get quality inputs when you neglect research. We need to look at research critically and see how best we develop the superior items for our farmers. You and I want to change our phones every year. When there's a new iPhone on the block, we want to change. Because people have invested in research to develop higher grade of iPhone. Farmers also deserve same. They deserve good technology. They deserve to have the high yielding varieties and seeds. And it's all boils down to research. We need to invest in this area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was excellent. Mr. Dieko.
Yes, sir.
you are required to chip in.
All right. Okay.
Will research development have any impact on?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Please. Thank you.
Like the others, kudos to other panelists for what they've said. And as a follow-up to what they've said, research and development cannot be ignored. If you look at the developed countries that we look up to, they invest a lot into research and development. And we find out that most time in this part of the world, it's more of a lip service thing. It's not, we don't dive deeply into it. Now, to support what Mr. Foster said, a lot of these farmers are not learned people. They go with what they see in infographics. They go with what they hear, informations they hear. Now, if they find out that the government is deeply involved in research and development, they listen to radios. If they have access to information about what seed, diversification of seed apart from maize and rice, if they know about millets, what you will get from planting millets, the yield you can get from it, they will be involved. So it is research that will make you know that we are focused on just maize and rice. We should diversify. We should check millet, for instance, and see that, you can produce alcohol from millet, a lot of things. So research and development plays a very, very important role that we need to key into. And there are a lot of private investors I've noticed over time that don't want to get involved when they see that the government is not supporting the initiative. They have the funds to support you. But once they see that the government is in support of it, they will key into it. Another thing that is a problem is, I mentioned it earlier on, a lot of these farmers are in the informal sector. Even when these credit facilities come, some of them don't have their businesses registered, and the government said you must come with a registered business and the like. So there's a problem in that regard where there is no adequate recognition for the guys in the informal sector. So just to cap it all, research and development goes a long way. And it has to do with going into knowing the things. It's quite expensive to go into research. But if we go into it, we will know where the problems lie and we'll find out the solutions to these problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diako. Thank you, panelists. I am going to be asking for you to give some kind of closing remark, bearing the theme in mind, your parting contribution, as it were, for our participants to take away with them. Please, while you are doing that too, kindly leave a contact, as in how you can be reached, because there is a question here on how to connect with AGRA for whatever benefit that you think you can provide for our teaming participants. Help us also let them know how they can, get in touch with you for, whatever help that you can give to them. Let me start with Mr. Dieko Lopelua.
All right, thank you very much. Just to part with my final words before we close the meeting. But the world is still going through a global pandemic, which is telling on our economic situation, it's telling on agriculture as well. I advocate, I expect for what we push for most times is increase. It's more we try to source for information. The information that we have in the private sector, we put it out there for people to see. So I advocate for more public-private partnership, to develop a post-COVID-19, a strong post-COVID-19 strategy in the agriculture sector, a realistic one that will tackle the issues, because we can't deny the fact that these issues are looming. The planting season is close by, and a lot of people are scared about so many things. So I advocate for more public-private partnership. And in that regard, our email address is fewasisecretariat@gmail.com. We are open to partner with anybody that is doing something in line with the agricultural sector. Anybody that's, if you need any source of information across the West African country, we work closely with chambers of commerce in West Africa. If you need any information about businesses in Benin Republic, you can reach out to us on fewasisecretariat@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dieko. Mr. Kola, would love to hear from you, sir.
Thank you. Well, I think first and foremost, just wanted to thank my fellow panelists. I think, Their organizations are doing really a tremendous amount of work to really improve the lives of thousands and millions, eventually millions of smallholder farmers. And I think at the end of the day, I think my parting words would be that I think development partners have spent a lot of time and energy helping farmers improve access to knowledge on how to farm better, have invested tremendously in helping them get access to higher quality seeds, chemicals, and other products. I think the reality right now is if we want to see a transformation and want to see those investments pay off, we need to think very critically about what role we could all play to ensure that those farmers are able to access the money they need to buy these products and use them effectively to get a real, to have a real impact in the amount of money in their pockets. That is how we're going to see real transformational change and the role that they can play in increasing access to finance to farmers.
Thank you very much. Access to finance. I'm sure we're going to be discussing that in some other panel in the coming days. I ask that all of our participants should stay tuned. You would hear so much more in relation to what Mr. Kola has just shared. Thank you very much, Mr. Kola. We're grateful for your wealth of knowledge. Mr. Boateng, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. First of all, let me thank the organizers and my fellow panelists. I've learned a lot from this webinar, and I think it's going to go a long way to improve my work with partners and smallholder farmers. Let me say that from this discussion, it is obvious that it is through agriculture that Africa can really win the battle against poverty and hunger. But before we could do that, let us also look at how we improve and modernize agriculture. In this case, we need to target science. We need science and technology to move. We need to make the plant efficient to yield more. We need to make the farmer efficient because wheels and gears must move. In this case, you have to look at labor productivity. Farmers cannot continue to use the antiquated method of farming. We need to start helping them inculcate mechanization that will make them more efficient and to leapfrog. Let me also say that I want to see governments unlock the potential of SMEs. Well, they are they are missing medal that we don't even hear of them. But these are the guys who have started a silent revolution in our food system, and they need to be supported. And for me, farmers are fragmented, but these SMEs can mobilize them together. That is where they form a huge capital to be able to access credit from the banks. And then one last thing I also want to touch on is the suboptimal policies that are crowding our private sector. I think we need to look at it. Some of them have been even in countries, in the whole country in Africa, most countries are running subsidies. These subsidies are crowding our private sector in the input market. But I think government can also look at a more efficient way of running these subsidies. Probably subsidies should be at the disposal of getting farmers, de-risking farmers to be able to get credit in the form of getting them insurance and also building their resilience. So I'll end on this note and I'll say thank you for inviting me. It's been a great day.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're so grateful. We're grateful for the wealth of knowledge, light that has been shared. And we strongly believe that, yes, this in no little way is going to move us in the direction of advantage to really revolutionize the food system and food and agriculture in Africa. We're going to compile all of these thoughts. We will make it available to you, our teaming participants, so that you can begin to implement and make adjustment so that you can have these advantages show in all that you do in our sector. Thank you very much once again. Thank you to the organizer. Thank you to everyone that has been working behind the scene. We appreciate and we thank you deeply, immensely. From me, it is farewell, sir. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, are you there? Oh, Mrs. Modupe, sorry.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very, very much for your time, for the very beautiful, very robust discussions that we've had this afternoon. And on behalf of the organizers of the West African Agribusiness Show 2021, I'd like to say, God bless you all. Mr. Sheyi Ifelaja, thank you for moderating so powerfully. Thank you all the participants. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, ma'am.
My prayer is that you still be with us by the grace of God. God bless you. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Bye.
So we'll reconvene by 3:30 by the grace of God. We'll reconvene by 3:30 by the grace of God. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Good afternoon.
have with me some of our distributors from the Republic of Benin. Can we meet you, please?
I'm Samuel Obona. I'm a businessman, Cheetahs Group of Company. We are from Benin Republic. We are here to see the product of PSC Nigerian Limited here in Ikeja, to know how the business, the product will move forward in Benin Republic. And we are here with the Director General, Dr. Patrick Owele.
Now that you've come to Lagos, Nigeria to see our products for yourselves, what is your advice for the Republic of Benin as regards our solar products?
There is no way of not convincing our customer to come and buy PSC solar products. Nous invitons toute la population du Bénin à adopter les produits PSC solar.
I have with me some of our distributors from the Republic of Benin. Can we meet you, please?
I'm Samuel Obona. I'm a businessman, Cheetahs Group of Company. We are from Benin Republic. We are here to see the product of PSC Nigerian Limited here in Ikeja, to know how the business, the product will move forward in Benin Republic. And we are here with the Director General, Dr. Patrick Owele.
Now that you've come to Lagos, Nigeria to see our products for yourselves, what is your advice for the Republic of Benin as regards our solar products?
There is no way of not convincing our customer to come and buy PSC solar products. Nous invitons toute la population du Bénin à adopter les produits PSC solar.